It's December and Christmas is approaching fast. During this time period, if you live in a country that celebrates Christmas, you likely heard a lot of Christmas songs being played on the radio or in different stores. One of them might be Mele Kalikimaka, likely sang by Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters. And this channel being about linguistics, you may wonder why I'm talking about Christmas music. Well, this song, Mele Kalikimaka, is a good and festive example to understand what phonology is while keeping things simple. Because after all, why is Mele Kalikimaka the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day? Your first question might be, what is phonology and what does it have to do with Christmas? Phonology on its own does not really have much to do with Christmas. It's the study of how sounds, or more precisely phonemes, and I'll explain what a phoneme is in a second, are organized in languages. And I want to emphasize here, it is about the organization of sounds, not the study of just sounds or how sounds are produced and used. This will be phonetics. But this video is not about phonetics, so we'll ignore that today. Every spoken language has a set of phonemes, which is the smallest unit of speech distinguishing one word from another. For example, b or p are phonemes. They are different as they change the meaning of the word. Let's look at some concrete examples. The word bay is different from the word pay. If I say I love the pay, it's clearly different from saying I love the bay. The word is not the same, and the meaning is not the same either. If I wanted to talk about the money I earn and how I love it, I would not say I love the bay. This is where phonemes are important. They allow us to distinguish one word from another. I mean, there's also the meaning of the word that comes into play. But today, we're just focusing on phonemes and how they allow us to distinguish meanings. So now that you had a brief introduction to phonology, let's look at our Christmas song and how phonemes are organized in Hawaiian versus in English. This will allow us to understand how Merry Christmas became Mele Kalikimaka in Hawaiian. In English, you have many different phonemes, organized in consonants and vowels. But in Hawaiian, there are not as many phonemes, and they're also different from English. Because of the difference between the two languages, trying to pronounce words of either one language from the other will result in using the phonemes that are known to the speaker in a different language. In other words, the pronunciation of the word would sound quite different from a non-native speaker compared to a native speaker. This is also part of the reason accents exist, especially when speaking a different language. Often, when words are imported from a language to another, speakers will use their pronunciation and their phonemes for said word. Sometimes, people will try to copy some of the phonemes of the other language instead. Now, let's look at the following example, Merry Christmas, and the transcription of its phonemes. So how does this get transformed into Mele Kalikimaka? Let's now compare this with the Hawaiian phonemes. We can see that some phonemes are not present in Hawaiian. For example, L and R are the same. Our word merry first becomes meli. Following how English words are written, meli is spelled with an E at the end. As I'm editing the video, I realized I made a mistake. The E sound does not become an A sound just because of the spelling, but it is due to multiple factors. You can look in the description to have more information about this. Now let's look at Christmas. There's a lot of things going on. Let's first look at some consonant change like we did for Merry. Like before, the R of Christmas would be pronounced as an L, just like for Merry. Nothing new so far. Christmas would become Christmas. The T in Christmas is not pronounced in the first place in English, so we can ignore it. Now in Hawaiian phonemes, S is not present. Yet, S is present in Christmas. The closest sound to S in Hawaiian is K. This may sound very strange at first, but this is simply based on how these sounds are formed. Try making the sound K and S. You'll notice that your tongue is not in the exact same place, but close enough between the two. This is because S is an alveolar consonant and K is a velar consonant. That's why S is transformed into K in Hawaiian. Now we have the following, Mele Kalikimaka. We're getting close to the final results, and we can see that what is missing here are some vowels. So why are there some extra vowels, and why are we not saying Mele Kalikimaka? And this is where phonology becomes interesting, because it's not only about individual phonemes, but also how they interact with each other. In English, we can have consonants next to other consonants. For example, Christmas, the K and the R, cloud, K and the L, or train, T and R. These are just some examples, and there are other consonant clusters that exist. By the way, a consonant cluster is just multiple consonants next to each other. But some of those clusters are forbidden in English, like P and S together. You don't say psalm, you say song. Well, Hawaiian is just like that, except that it does not allow any consonant cluster at all. Every consonant must be followed by a vowel. So we have vowels that are added. Mele Kalikimaka. Now you have an explanation, but you may have another question. Why the vowel A between K and L and not another vowel? And why E between K and M? Once again, it all comes down to your mouth and how sounds are produced. Remember how K and S are similar because of the location of your tongue in your mouth? Well, it's similar here. The vowels that are added are simply the easiest vowels to produce between those two consonants for a Hawaiian speaker. And this is based on the location of your tongue when making the K and L sound, and then between K and M, where M is produced differently than L. So, I hope this small description of what phonology is was interesting to you, and I hope you now understand why Merry Christmas became Mele Kalikimaka in Hawaiian.